A very good evening and welcome to The World Now at 4. I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, Nigeria increases collaborative efforts to tackle human trafficking. Still on the headlines, Kenyan lawyer in ICC case linked to President Ruto found dead. Police. Also on the headlines, Trudeau pledges support for storm-lashed towns. And on sports, Mali women's basketball players fight following loss. And now the news in detail. The Nigerian government has reiterated its commitment to increase efforts in collaboration with partners, including the European Union, that is the EU, to eradicate human trafficking in the country. This was disclosed in a statement by the press officer of the agency, Vincent Adekoye, to journalists in Abuja, the nation's capital. The country's Minister of State, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, made the pledge during a meeting organized for members of state task forces against human trafficking across the country. Represented by the project officer of the migration unit, Jude Ebohimen, the minister said the ministry will double efforts to ensure that successful implementation of the project for the benefit of all Nigerians is underway. Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, that is the NAPTIP, Fatima Waziri, who was represented by the agency's Director of Research and Program Development, Olushayo Olubi, also called for accurate and verifiable data that will depict the scope and reality of various forms of trafficking peculiar to each state of the Federation in order to formulate appropriate intervention. The Director General enumerated the efforts of the agency in combating human trafficking, including setting up the state task forces on human trafficking in 22 states across the country. And away from that story, let's have you know that police authorities in Bayelsa State have paraded suspected kidnap kingpin John Lyon and 3 other members of his syndicate. The suspects were paraded by the Bayelsa State Police Command at the police officers' mess in Yanagwa. They were alleged to have masterminded most kidnap activities in Bayelsa State, dating back to 2015 when the younger sister of the former Bayelsa State Governor Nancy Dixon was abducted. The suspects also confirmed their levels of involvement in kidnapping activities. Police told the newsman that Lyon, who, the way he is loved to be called, was arrested on September 15th, but the news broke last weekend, a development that triggered a wave of reactions from Nigerians. Lyon, known to show off his wealth on social media, was in a viral video seen dressed in pajamas. He was spotted displaying some foreign currency, notes, and asked people to work hard in life to succeed. The Commissioner for Police in the state, Ben Okolo, gave updates on the criminal activities of the suspects.
The gang leader, Emmanuel Charles Angase, has confessed that on 30th June 2022 at about 0600 hours, himself, John Ewa, and others at large accosted Danjuma Omeje at the entrance of his house at Okaka, kidnapped him and fled in a blue Toyota Corolla car with registration number KJA 225AY. They took the victim to his camp at Osunikri, Oluwasiri, and released him on 14 July 2022 after collecting 60 million ransom. The suspects also confessed to the kidnap of Aki, Oladele Olushola, a banker.
Quite a story there. The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma says the dredging of the Orashi River will stimulate economic growth in the southeast. Governor Uzodinma stated this during a tour of the river with officials of the state government and the Nigerian Navy.
We can liken this to 1948, to Bonny. Bonny was like this in 1948 until the first vessel came in from Europe. And then the people begin to appreciate even the patronage. When the first vessel came into Bonny, those selling food items by the riverside, their items finished before 12 noon. They started appreciating it. So our people are very enterprising people, and you can see the efforts of those who are into fishing, those who are into selling groundnut, banana, and all that. You can see that.
Silirandir Lassa, the General Managing Director of the Nigerian Navy, vowed to partner with the government to secure the waterways in the community. When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Stay with us. It's a delight to have you back. This is The World Now at 4 on Hills TV. Talking more stories, at least 5 people have died and scores were injured after a 6-story building collapsed Monday, September 26, in Kiambu, central Kenya. If several were extracted from the rubble alive during the afternoon, many were feared to still be trapped at the scene. According to local media reports, the building collapsed on an adjacent building, trapping residents under the debris. The Kiambu Community Fire and Disaster Management Department, the Kenyan Police and Defense Forces, as well as the Kenyan Red Cross and volunteers joined forces for the rescue operation. It is not immediately clear what caused the building to collapse. Rescue efforts are underway and emergency workers have managed to pull a child from the rubble. Kiambu County Governor Kimani Wamatangi said several others have also been rescued, but sadly, some are feared to have succumbed to their injuries. And away from that story, let's have you know that there are still more stories coming in, and let's have you know that according to preliminary data released today by the National Electoral Commission, that is the CN, the Independent Democratic Action, that is the ADI opposition, led by former Prime Minister Patrice Trovoada, won Sunday's legislative elections in Sao Tome and Principe with a total of 36,549 votes. The provisional figures for the legislative elections were presented at the CN headquarters in the capital more than 29 hours after the polls closed, a delay that prompted protests from the ADI militants who burned tires near the CN offices, which were surrounded by the military. CN President John Jose Carlos Barreros declined to present the distribution of the seats by party as usual, referring to the constitutional courts for this task, justifying that the parties have presented discrepancies in their own projections. According to CN data, the Movement for the Liberation of Sao Tome and Principe, Social Democratic Party, that is the MLSTP, PSD of Prime Minister Jorge Bom Jesus, was the second most voted party with 25,531 votes. The Basta movement, created 3 months before the elections, received 6,874 votes. The former Prime Minister of Sao Tome and Principe, Patrice Trovoada, Independent Democratic Action opposition, today claimed victory with 30 seats, absolute majority, in the legislative elections, and announced that he will head the next government. We now move to other parts of the world after this break. Don't go away. And now to other parts of the world. This is The World Now at 4. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Monday pledged that the government was dedicated to repairing the devastation that a powerful storm Fiona caused and offered his condolences to those who lost a loved one.
The storm has passed, but thousands of homes are still experiencing power outages. Canadians are thinking of you in these difficult times.
Greg Cook, a volunteer fighter who witnessed the onslaught of the storm in the seaside town of Port aux Basques, Newfoundland, said the rescue team watched a house just completely get ripped off its foundation by a wave. Police said that in this town of just over 4,000 residents, more than 20 homes were destroyed and more than 200 people needed shelter. Reliable sources indicate that more than a third of customers in the province of Nova Scotia were without power on Monday. Schools and government offices in the hard-hit areas were closed. Trudeau further ordered the Canadian Armed Forces to help with cleanup and rescue efforts. And now let's bring you the fact that a gunman has opened fire at a school in central Russia, killing at least 17 people and injuring 24, Russian officials say. According to reports, the victims included 11 children at the school of about 1,000 pupils in the city of Izhevsk. It was also gathered that the gunman killed himself at the scene and was a former pupil of the school. Videos posted online appear to show panic inside the building where the shooting took place, with children and adults running along corridors. Other footage shows blood on a classroom floor and a bullet hole in a window, with children crouching down underneath desks. 11 children and 4 adults were killed, including 2 security guards and 2 teachers, according to Russia's investigative committee. However, staff and pupils have been evacuated from the school building, which is in central Izhevsk, a city of about 650,000 residents. And now let's have you know, still on Russia, Vladimir Putin says that Russia wants to save people in 4 occupied territories in Ukraine on the last day of annexation votes, denounced as a sham by Western leaders. Discredited referendums have been taking place in occupied areas of the country over several days. Saving people in the territories where the referendum is taking place is the focus of the attention of our entire society and of the entire country, Putin said during a televised meeting with officials. The UK's Defence Ministry said this morning that Putin is likely to announce the formal annexation of occupied regions of Ukraine into Russia within days. Taking a short break. When we come back, it's only more. Coming right up is business. Stay with us. Pleasure to have you back. This is The World Now at 4 on Hills TV, and this is the Business Desk. Talking business, the Danish Energy Authority, that is the DEA, have said a lot of gas has been seen coming out of the damaged Nord Stream 2 pipeline in the Baltic Sea, which has sustained a really big hole. The head of the organization says gas leaking will continue for several days and perhaps even a week. He says the large amount of bubbles on the surface shows the hole in the pipe is very big. Denmark's Maritime Authority have issued a navigation warning and warned ships not to sail into an area 5 nautical miles from the leaks, as they may lose buoyancy and there might be a risk of ignition above the water, the DEA said. Both Russian-built pipelines have been at the center of the energy disputes between Russia and Europe. Still talking more business stories, the Polish and Danish prime ministers are taking part in an opening ceremony for new gas pipeline named the Baltic Pipe that will open a new link for Norwegian gas to Europe. The ceremony is being held at a Golonjo gas compressor station in northwestern Poland. Poland has led the projects to replace gas from its traditional main supplier, Russia. Gazprom stopped supplying Poland in April. Not only will Poland be able to import pipeline Norwegian gas via Denmark for the first time, countries to the south of Poland, including Slovakia and Czech Republic, will also be able to supply. Gas will also start flowing in the pipeline on 1st October, and it is expected to reach its full capacity by the end of November. Chairman of Russia's Lukoil oil giant Ravil Magnov has died after falling from a hospital window in Moscow. The company confirmed his death, but said only that Magnov, 67, has passed away following a severe illness. Russian media said he was being treated at Moscow's Central Clinical Hospital and died of his injuries. Magnov is the latest of a number of high-profile business executives to die in mysterious circumstances. Investigating authorities said they were working at the scene to establish how he died. TASS news agency quoted sources saying he has fallen out of a 6th-floor window, adding that he had taken his own life. In Ukraine, the Lukoil board called for the conflict to end as soon as possible, expressing its sympathy to victims of this tragedy. Still to come on The World Now at 4 is sports. Don't go away.
Good evening and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Richard Badung. On the news, two members of Mali's basketball team fought each other on Monday, September 26, following their latest loss in the Women's World Cup. The fight took place in the post-game media area after the team was defeated 81-68 by Serbia. FIBA, the international basketball governing body, has opened an investigation into the incident between ballers Salimato Kuroma and Kamite Elizabeth Dabo. Both players are averaging less than 10 points per game, as the woeful Mali team has lost each of their 4 games by an average of 30 points. According to reports, Mali originally did not even have the chance to compete in the Women's World Cup. They were a late entry to replace Nigeria, which had administrative issues. Mali wraps up their tournament Tuesday, September 27 against Canada. And away from that story, similarly, some top players of Algeria Desert Foxes say the Super Eagles of Nigeria will give them a tough game in tonight's international friendly game, as they will be vengeful. Reports show that the Foxes, after their last practice on Monday evening at the new Milad Adafi complex, formerly the new State Oran, Jamel Belmadis expect a more demanding match against the Super Eagles. Star player Osin Benayada said the team is going to face a very good team from Nigeria, even though they had enormous difficulties overcoming the Guinean team, which caused a lot of problems during previous match. And away from that Nigeria game, the game will be played by 8 p.m. later tonight. WBC champion Tyson Fury has called off his proposed Battle of Britain bout with Anthony Joshua, saying his compatriots had not signed the contract before Monday's deadline. Fury had challenged Joshua earlier this month, saying he would come out of retirement to defend his title in December, a challenge Joshua accepted. Joshua's 258 management and promoters said they had accepted all terms presented by Fury's team, but agreed to halt all communication due to the death of Queen Elizabeth. Joshua, 32, suffered a second straight loss to Ukraine's WBA, WBO, IBF and IBO champion Alexander Usyk in a title rematch in Saudi Arabia last month, and said he wanted to return to the ring before the end of the year. When Fury challenged Joshua, the champion also said he would select another opponent in his fellow Britain was not interested in the bout.
Well, guys, it's official. D-Day has come and gone. It's gone past 5 o'clock Monday. No contract has been signed. It's officially over for Joshua. He's now out in the cold with the Wolfpack. Forget about it. Idiot. Coward. Always needing of the minerals to fight the Gypsy King. Good luck with your career and your life. End of. Peace out.
Before we go, it's on a sad note to tell you that Nigerian midfielder and former Super Eagles captain Mikel Obi has retired from the professional career. Mikel, who have enjoyed a 20 years career in football, won the UEFA Champions League, the AFCON for Nigeria in 2013, and also led the team to the 2014 World Cup in Germany and also in Russia. John Mikel Obi have also won other titles with Chelsea, where he spent 10 years of his career. And that's your sport news on World Now at 4. Back to Uduak Daniel for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badung. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Richard Badung, thank you once again for that one on sports. Still with the news, a woman, Rose Akpan, has died in her apartment on Odunsi Street in the Bariga area of Lagos State. Correspondents who visited the house to ascertain the circumstances surrounding her death gathered from neighbors that Akpan's hands and legs were paralyzed due to a medical condition. In a bid to keep her clean, the neighbors said they had been voluntarily taking turns to bathe her and change her diapers. Speaking with correspondents on Monday, Udo said Akpan died from stroke, arthritis and neglect, adding that she also denied her family members access to her. A resident who spoke on the condition of anonymity for security reasons said the police and officials of the Lagos State Health Management Board brought an ambulance to convey her corpse to mortuary. Meanwhile, the State Police Public Relations Officer, SP Benjamin Hundein, said he had no details concerning the case as at the time of the report. And that's the World Now at 4, but just before we go, a quick look at our top stories. We told you Nigeria increases collaborative efforts to tackle human trafficking. We also told you Kenyan lawyer in ICC case linked to resident Ruto found dead. Police. We brought to the fore Trudeau pledges support for storm-lashed towns. And on sports, Mali women's basketball players fight following loss. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV. Our YouTube channel is at Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. Thank you for watching.